What's up you guys, Sebastian here from Everyday Digital, where we review products, services and everything related to bits and bytes. Today we're gonna have a look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA? They should have just called it GeForce Stream. So chances are you probably heard about cloud gaming by now since Google announced its Google Stadia. Is it Stadia? Anyway, it got a lot of hate because people complained about lag, input delay, pixel distortion. It was a mess, but it's actually not that bad if you have a good internet connection. I'm looking at you, Comcast. But before we jump into NVIDIA now, let's make a quick refresh of what cloud gaming actually is. Cloud gaming, so to speak, is when heavy load and processing is being done on servers in a data center instead of your local machine. Any button that you press or any mouse stroke you do will be recorded and sent towards the data center where it's being processed and rendered. What you get back is the video stream, the naked video stream, like this YouTube video. Alright, so since we have this out of the way, let's talk about the actual product GeForce Now. First up, price. There are currently two tiers available with GeForce Now. One is the free tier and the other one is the paid tier. If you just want to check out if cloud gaming is for you or if you want to just see the overall performance, I highly recommend go sign up for the free plan. Costs nothing, only downside you have only 1 hour time and you might have a nasty queue ahead of you. For $4.99 or in the European Union €5.50, you can sign up for the premium tier or let's say the paid tier. And I think this is fantastic pricing considering the fact that Google Stadia is charging $9.99 a month. $4.99 is a really good price to get started. And yeah, you have a lot of features. On the one hand side, you have a priority queue. I don't know what it means. I mean, whenever I tried it, I was able to fire up a game right out of the moment without any waiting. The second thing that comes along is the fact that you have a session time that is now 6 hours. And to be honest, 6 hours is quite okay. I mean, it's 6 hours. Oh, and also you get RTX, although truth be told, there are about 28 games supporting this right now, so I wouldn't necessarily consider this as the selling feature of why you have to go premium. Games. So this is pretty much why people are so hyped about GeForce Now compared to Google Stadia. You don't have to buy new games, you can actually link your existing ones, and that's pretty cool. So if you have a library, for example, in Steam, you can just simply connect it and you will be able to play those games on GeForce Now. Same with Uplay. That being said, you have access to the aftermarket. For example, I got myself for $9 Hitman 2. For casual gamers, I think this is a very valid point of why you want to have access to aftermarket games. But keep in mind, not all games are currently supported. So you have to go on their website, and to be honest, the interface is really bad. So you have to enter each title that you want to double check and you will see if it's compatible at this moment or not. So keep in mind, there is maybe some discrepancy between the titles that you have in your library and those which you can actually play on NVIDIA Now. And before you think that you can trick the system, let me tell you that I tried. So if you fire up a game, you will see some sort of a weird kind of virtual PC starting, and you can see the screen and you can see the Steam loading in the background. But if you try to interrupt that process, or if you try to get out of the big picture mode and start a new game, it will just simply crash. So it won't work. Just give up. Nope, doesn't work. So let's talk about what are the requirements to be able to enjoy GeForce Now. It runs on pretty much anything. Mac, Windows, Android, give it a shield. I mean, it runs everywhere, although not on iOS. Because we are in a streaming environment, let's talk bandwidth. You need to have a solid internet connection, and I'm not just talking about the actual access that your internet service provider is giving to you. We are talking about your entire internet setup at home. At this very same moment, to get the absolute best result, and we're not talking about 4K, oh my goodness, you need 50 megabits per second. Quite a lot. And that's why I have 4 tips for you. 1. If possible, use cable. I know it's outdated, but you're gonna be happy with those couple milliseconds more. 2. Make sure you have a 5 GHz Wi-Fi router, not 2.4, 5 GHz. Oh, and also don't be 60 miles away from it. 3. Have enough bandwidth while you play. Although you might have a 50 megabit connection or a 100 megabit connection, you still need to consider who else is using your internet. If you share it with your wife, if you share it with your kids, if someone is turning on Netflix, streaming in 4K or YouTube, you will immediately have less bandwidth available. 4. Check the latency. It's not all about your megabit per seconds downstream and upstream. You need to make sure that your latency towards the servers is as low as possible, and every millisecond counts. So go with the cable, try to make sure that you don't have any old outdated hardware because it adds up, and try to connect to the closest location possible. So let's talk about the pros and cons of GeForce Now. Here's what I really like. The Founders Edition at $499 has an impressive low entry point. And to be honest with you, if you would go on Amazon and you would just buy the graphic card alone for the same amount of money, you could subscribe to GeForce Now for multiple years. The list of available games at day one is impressive. It's really, really good, and you have a lot of titles that you can try and play and experience on GeForce Now. Something is telling me that it might be a little bit easier for developers to program or to make their games accessible for GeForce Now in comparison to Stadia. So that's why I think we will see much more games at a faster pace available on GeForce Now than on Stadia. But fingers crossed, because I also like Stadia. I really like silent gaming. I understand that if you have a powerful machine and you need liquid cooling and whatnot, but for me, I just want to play without any noise. And if you consider this important to you, then I think cloud gaming is really something that you should definitely have a look at. If I start my PlayStation 4 to play Red Dead Redemption, I feel like a 737 is taking off next to me. And now I can finally play and the fans don't even turn on. So that's an absolute awesome thing and I love it. Let's talk about the things I didn't like. Graphics. Well, they're okay. I mean, everybody has their own opinion about if it's good graphics or bad graphics, but I can only tell you from a comparison to PlayStation 4, that's what I was playing most of my games, and they're okay. I mean, nothing really wowed me. This might be a limitation based on the actual game itself. I know it's not so easy, you can't compare apples with bananas, but just let me say it that way. I just didn't really feel it was out of the world. It was not wow. But then again, at $5 a month, I mean, it goes without saying you can't have everything. The bandwidth requirements, to be honest, I think it's a bit high. I mean, 50 megabits recommended bandwidth is not even 4K. So I think that either it has something to do with the image compression and they wanted to make sure that you don't see pixel artifacts, but 50 megs for a 1080p stream, wow. So if they launch 4K, you need a gigabit then? The interface and the way how you start a game is really not on par. I think Stadia is doing a fantastic job here. It feels very nice and very smooth, and that's the way how cloud gaming should be. You shouldn't see Steam loading in the background and you have a virtual desktop that you drag along. Room for improvement. Despite being logged into GeForce Now all the time, it happened to me a lot that when I started up a game, I had to log in into Steam. And that's a bit annoying because I had to enter my password. I used two-way authentication, so I had to also fire up my application, type in the code, and this happened to me at least 3 out of 10 times. I think the controller support is still not really there. For example, the Nintendo Switch controller didn't fully work. So on Hitman, when you want to run and you have to hold the RB button, it just wasn't recognized. Overall, I think we're heading in a really, really promising future, and online and cloud gaming is something that I have dreamed of for many, many, many years, and it's finally here. Yes, it feels a bit clunky. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people are like very negative about it, but I think that in the next 3 to 5 years, we will see massive improvements. Internet speeds will get better, latency will get lower. At the end of the day, we will all have a great experience. If we get the pricing right, if we get the quality right and the input lag to a minimum, I think this could be something, at least for casual gamers, that is extremely promising. If you would ask me if you would have to decide between Stadia and GeForce Now, come on, take both. It's $15. I mean, that's what Netflix charges for the 4K subscription. Yes, I know it might be a little bit too much for the same time and you get nothing at Stadia, so to speak, but keep in mind they give you free games as well. I really like the interface. I will also do a video about Stadia, and trust me, I really like it. I'm a big fan of it. They have more the console approach, but at the end of the day, cloud gaming should be embraced. And I'm also very excited about Shadow, and there are some other competitors out there that are trying their services. It's gonna be really exciting this year. Cloud gaming, yeah guys. Did you find this video helpful? Did you learn something? Did you like it? Smash that subscribe button. Like it, leave a comment. I'm really curious to learn more about your experience. You have a different setup. We're all from different places on the earth. It would be really interesting to see how you guys enjoy GeForce Now, or maybe you don't. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. I'm reading them all. Oh, and before I forget, also make sure to check out the upcoming video where we go deep down under the hood of GeForce Now, where we're gonna fire up a low latency camera, we're gonna check input delay, we're gonna do trace routes, we're gonna look into the actual frames of each segment, do frame counting. It's gonna be amazing. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.